Hey, this is Zeke from CodeForDesigners.com, and I'm here with another Level Up Friday. Now, Level Up Fridays, if you don't know what they are quick, brief, bite-sized coding tutorials to help you level up your skills and improve as a coder. In this episode, we're going to talk all about responsive images. I'm going to show you with just HTML how you can change your image on smaller screens and larger screens and really provide that art direction you might be looking for in your next project. I've created a code pen to start from. In it, you'll see I have two images. One for that's kind of like a square shape. Another, you can see I've got a lot of extra image. It's really kind of narrow, almost kind of strippy. To get started for this tutorial, I want you to go ahead and hit the fork button on CodePen and create your own version to work from. Now I'm just going to go ahead and change my my title to end. Now, with those two images in place, you can kind of see what I'm working with. In here, I have two images, two square images, right? One is at 1x, the other is at 2x. And those x's I'm referring to pixel density, and I intend for one of the images to basically just be double the pixel density, which is great for these high-res screens that we're all working with. I've done the same for the rectangular image. I've got those just kind of copied out. And you can see I've even got image tags going, right? So one of the first things I'm going to do is just go ahead and delete the second image. And the first one, I'll leave the comments up there so we can copy and paste images as we go. But I want to start off with just this square image. Now, alt text is really important. It helps accessibility, so I just want to put in a little bit here. For me, this is a woman in an Air Force marathon shirt running a race with others behind her. Right? And I probably don't need the period, but that's a good-ish description of the image. Now, to deal with these responsive images, the first thing I want to show you how to do is to use the picture element itself. Now, picture is a little tricky, but it's easy to work with. So I'm just going to type picture. I'm going to outdent that image. And let me just close that picture tag. And we're kind of done. We effectively have a working version of the picture element. What makes the picture element powerful isn't just wrapping the image in a picture element, of course. That really doesn't do anything for us. But now we can do things like specify sources that it can switch between based on the browser's width or any other criteria we can put into a media query. Now, you may have heard that word media query before if you've written any CSS, and that's because it's literally the same thing. You write it in exactly the same syntax. So I'll first show you what it's like to add a few sources. So first thing I'm going to do is just add a source tag. And I'm actually going to switch my image. I want the rectangular image to be that in the image tag. The reason is because this is actually kind of our fallback. When it encounters browsers that don't either understand the picture element or the source elements, it will fall back to this image. And in my case, I tend to think of that as being, at least in the US, Internet Explorer. Now, if you're dealing with international, clientele, your fallback might actually be more realistically like a feature phone or something like that, like an older phone that just doesn't have it. But in the US, I tend to think mostly of Internet Explorer. So that's why I went with the wider image. I also went with the 1x version of that image, so I'm not sending the biggest one I have over. Now, on the source tag, I'm going to go ahead and add an attribute called srcset. And in it, the first thing I'm going to do is just copy that square image. And now you should see we're back to that original square image we had again. By default, source is always going to override image. But to specify when we want to use this particular source, we should add a media tag. Now, this is the media, again, that works like a media query in CSS. So if you're writing CSS, you're familiar with this. You can do things like specify screen or print or the various mediums that you want. You can do something like screen. And you can also go screen and something like max width. I'm just going to use 600 pixels. So what it's going to do is look at the size of my current window. And in the case of CodePen, because this is an iframe, it really is counting this white window that you see. And I can resize, and you'll see that when I cross that 600 pixel threshold, it changes the image. Right now I have that wider rectangular image, and if I shrink it down, I'm going to get that square image again. Now this is really cool in and of itself. This could feel like, hey, you've probably solved 99% of the problem. For a lot of people, we probably have already. But I also want to show you with a little bit more detail how srcset figures into this picture. So as I said before, you probably don't need the screen declaration. So I'm just going to clean that up off the media tag. And now you'll see I have these 1x and 2x images. Right? I want to deal with effectively pixel density. These are exactly the same images, just different pixel densities that I want to use them for. So this first image is actually my 1x image. And in order to just, declare 1x is actually just kind of really nice and cool. It's simple for the browser to understand. If I then supply it with another image, I'm just going to copy that one, put a comma after the 1x, paste in my new URL, and just put in 2x. It now understands and loads that higher pixel density image when it needs it. And that's pretty cool. I'm working in sort of a high density view right now, so it should be picking that up. But it's going to be difficult to tell, especially in Chrome. The way Chrome deals with srcset specifically is if it has a version, the best version in the cache, it's always going to refer to that best version. After all, its whole deal is to speed up the way people download images. So it's not going to want to fetch, a lower resolution image just to show in this one instance, when the higher resolution image would just work just as fine, even if it's a lower res display. So it's always going to take whatever the best image is in its cache and just display that. I used 1x here, but I could actually put in the actual pixel width of that particular image. I could say, for example, this is a 600 pixel image, and I would specify that by switching that 1x out for a 600W. Likewise, I could switch out this 2x and just say 1200W. And the browser is going to take this as a suggestion, and it's going to use the best image based on its own calculations. So you might have thought, hey, I could use this srcset to do some of that responsive image switching, but the browser really isn't looking to you to tell it when to use the image at the right time. It's just looking for you to provide it with a suggestion. That's why these source tags are really, really helpful. Now, I'm just going to go back to 1x and 2x just by undoing. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and create another source tag. I could do srcset equals media equals, put in my values for that new high-res image, and I'd be good. I can keep doing this as many times and for as many media queries as I want, and it's always just going to take the first match. Turns out, at least in this instance, because I'm only switching between two images, I don't really need a second source tag. What I can do is use srcset on the image tag. So I'm just going to add a source set. And we've already got our 1x image, so I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to grab the URL for my 2x image and type 2x. Save that. And now as I sort of expand my views, you can see I should be getting this 2x image. But that's really cool. You can deal with resolution using source set, and you can deal with changing the image totally using the picture element and the source tag. And that combination works out really well, and it's something I do a lot of. You can see this is just HTML. We're doing pretty good. We don't really need much else. Now, one of the questions you might have asked yourself when you saw this example is, hey Zeke, I noticed you only had an alt tag on the image element itself. And that's interesting. The way picture works is, despite it appearing to me like it would be displaying this element specifically, and I should need an alt tag for that or add classes to somewhere else, it really wants you to put all of that on the image tag. And for an example, I'll just kind of show you. I'll, add a class, rounded corner. It's probably the worst class name I've come up with. But what I'm going to do is just take that rounded corner, add a little bit of a border radius, something big enough for us to see when it switches. Let's call it 30 pixels. And you'll see I'm not getting that border radius. It's just not happening. Now I'm going to take that class and instead move it to the image tag. I'll just put it at the end here. And now you see we get our corner rounding like we expected. Really, if you're going to put classes or any other attributes when you're dealing with the picture element, you're going to have to put it on that image tag. It's just something to be aware of. Certainly caused me a lot of confusion when I was first working with it. Now, I hope you can see how powerful that is, especially just working with HTML. For me, I know we just end up in situations as designers where we just need to crop things or change the way we're handling an image altogether just based on the screen width, the screen height, what kind of device we're showing it on. And this really gives us a lot of access to that with very minimal code. And if you're working in something like some sort of CMS that automatically generates some of these images for you, you can deal with the resolutions without much of a problem. That's just a few lines of code in a CMS. Providing people with fields for different images will unlock a lot of that power for you. If you have any questions at all about this video or other videos from Code for Designers, don't hesitate to reach out either through the Code for Designers Twitter or the Facebook page. This course is inspired by a set of tutorials I'm creating right now to teach you the basics of HTML while giving you the power to prototype using a tool called Bootstrap. If you want to know when that course launches or any other news comes out of Code for Designers, please sign up for the newsletter at codefordesigners.com.